has got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
It is an overcast atmosphere in Southern California as we welcome you to the Willow Springs International Raceway for the second qualifying session for the 2026 season of the NR2003 FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship. We welcome you here to Willow Springs for qualifying for the Napa, California Grand Prix. A pleasant good afternoon to everybody tuning in to today's qualifying session here on the North American Sim Racing Network. My name is Trey Wright. We begin to set the field for GT Le Mans. It's hard to believe that we're already on race number 2 of the season. And there is your race winner. From race number 1, the 2.4 hours of Daytona, Eric Monaco. But he just has enough of a chance of missing this race as everybody else in the grid does. But Monaco with the points lead right now. 0-7. Taylor Lay is going to come back out onto the racetrack. He's going to come out onto the racetrack in that 0-7 machine. This is going to be one whale of a qualifying session. 15 minutes for both classes to decide where everybody is going to be for tomorrow afternoon's 67-lap affair here in SoCal, as Reggie Fogelman also out there in car number 16 to get a good look at some of the other cars. Did not make the Daytona 2.4 like Michael Lewis, who was looking for a little bit of stability in that 54 machine. Reggie Fogelman, first one to put a time on the board here in qualifying. But as per usual, it's going to be a fun one. That was Bryce Egan. Reggie Fogelman is in the 11. It's Joey Hightower in car number 27 as Bryce Egan, the only one to put down a time so far. Now Bradley Ream, Reggie Fogelman, and Roberto Crown Jr. also putting down times. Zachary Fitzwater in the 62 as he'll rocket around the corner. And there's Sarah Taylor in the 45 coming out. I believe everybody should be out on track. Remember, the top 21 will make the show, so 9 cars will not qualify for the race. And with how short of a race that Willow Springs is, I believe it's the shortest race on the calendar. It's one of the majority of the races this season which will only have qualifying sessions. There won't be any qualifying races. Off track a little bit goes Russell Blaze in the 86. Right behind him is that 2 of Eric Monaco. And I know Monaco is trying to make the show as got 16 cars that have taken a lap time so far here in this GTLM grid. So everybody continues to filter out and put a lap down as Riley Sampson off of turn number 4 right in front of the 04. As well as the 64 of Pedro Sabato taking a lap time as well. There's Mike Vincent Jr., last year's champion and last year's winner of the Napa, California Grand Prix, and he's going to be looking for another pretty good starting spot as he's right in the slipstream of the 6 of Logan Williams. Currently it's Owen Miles top of the board right now with Philip Torres jumping up into that 4th spot at the moment, or last time by, but now it's Nathan Stapleton who's up into that 2nd spot. Philip Torres in the 4 cars. We got a good look at him in that Dale Earnhardt-inspired number 4 machine. Got everybody coming out here, starting to put down some times with just about 10:30 to go here in qualifying. Of course, the storylines coming out of the Daytona 2.4 are pretty prevalent, as Emily York-Watson, one of the many GTLM cars that failed to finish the race after being caught up in that 3-car wreck with the 07 of Taylor Lay. It was 78. Also going upside down in said race of Mike Vincent Jr. He flipped in that race. James Lawson underneath of Roberto Crown Jr. as Crown Jr. will work the outside lane. So go back up through the balcony corner. There's the 49, Kyle Wood. One of the 9 drivers to not make the Daytona 2.4. Trying to make today's race, is jumping up to the top of the board, is that 3 machine. It's John Andrews. We'll go to the top end of the board, and just as we say that, Taylor Lay with a flyer of a lap right now. 1 minute and 12 seconds. The time to beat for the pole position, and the cut line currently belonging to Joey Hightower. And some notable drivers on the outside looking in right now on that cut line. Drivers on the outside looking in. Currently 45, the 12, the 27, the 8, the 04, the 7, the 5, the 02, and the 2. It's Eric Monaco currently running last. 12.695. Right now, half a second off the pace for your Daytona 2.4 winner. And just we say that, he's back inside the top 10. So Monaco, right now safe, but not for long. Now he's going to be pushed outside of the top 21. It's Caleb Rose trying to make the show. That 5 car at the moment right now on the inside. Looking outward as Eric Monaco currently sits 23rd, Bradley Ream, and now Zachary Fitzwater will fall down. Same thing with a 78. Mike Vincent Jr., the defending winner of this race, would not be in the race the way things stand at the moment, as we had 1 car go off track. I believe that may have been Kasumi Takashi in the 7. You see some front end damage on that U.S. Air Force 7 machine, sliding up the track and nearly got into the 2. They are going to get into the 2 as Eric Monaco gets shoved off and into the outside wall. And up onto the embankment goes the big red number 2 machine. That is certainly not what you want for Eric Monaco. He's going to get a brand new race car and is going to go back out there to try to get inside the top 21. Joey Hightower also looking for another solid run in that 27 machine. Right now in that 26th spot, but still plenty of time to go in qualifying. Actually, we're past the halfway point in qualifying, my apologies. We are going to get some bonus time for these drivers to try and put down another fast lap. But that is certainly the collection of characters that would be out of the second race of the season that made the 2.4. Guys like James Lawson, Kasumi Takashi. I think Luna Farmer is the only driver that would be 0 for 2 in qualifying, as now the 22 of Anthony Joseph will fall outside of the top 21. But other than Luna Farmer, everybody currently outside, as now Caleb Rose will fall outside of the top 21 as well in the 5 car. He has just been pushed out by 3 1/1000ths of a second by Bradley Ream, who right now is the last one good to the go. Still plenty of time for things to shake up, but it's currently Bruno Giacomo, one of those 9 DNQs from the Daytona 2.4, the roar before the 2.4. Currently holds the pole position by 0.2 of a second over Taylor Lay. Roberto Crown Jr. looking for another pretty good run for him as well. Kyle Wood up inside the top 10 too. Same thing with Logan Williams, Philip Torres, and a plethora of other drivers that failed to qualify for the Daytona 2.4 in that Q race. But we mentioned how that there's not going to be a whole lot of Q races this year. There's only just going to be Q sessions. So I believe off the top of my head, I know that we're going to have a Q race for Watkins Glen, a Q race for Clawhammer, and a Q race for the season finale at Riverside. Bryce Egan nearly getting turned around by Bruno Diacomo might ruin his lap a little bit here as we close in on the final 5 minutes of Q. But I believe we've only got maybe 3 remaining races that'll hold a qualifying session. Everything else, or we'll hold a qualifying race to decide the grid. But right now, keeping another pretty decent look at that bottom 22. Russell Blaze now falling outside of the top 21. Right now, the outside looking in would be Russell Blaze, Caleb Rose, Mike Vincent Jr., Joey Hightower, Zachary Fitzwater, Eric Monaco, Chris Harvey, Kasumi Takashi, and James Lawson. And for both Monaco and Fitzwater, who they go back, just not even last race in Daytona, but every single race here we've had, or every single season we've had, those two have always been two of the most competitive cars on the grid, especially Zachary Fitzwater for those. So for those two to miss the race, the second race of the season, and a track that they're both pretty decent at. Certainly not what you want, but that is the danger that we have here in some of these qualifying sessions. And that's the danger when you got a 30-car field. Nobody is chartered, so everybody has just as good of a chance to make the race as to miss it. Again, you've got about roughly 2/3 of a chance to win the race or to make the race. Only 9 cars, D and Q of the 30. So the odds are certainly stacked in your favor, but you got a couple of other drivers. As it looks like Caleb Rose, he put down a flyer of a lap, and he's inside the top 15 right now. 12 for the Colonel in that Vodafone 5 car. That's going to push the 11 of Reggie Fogelman out. .310 to go in qualifying. Bruno Diacomo still holding the fastest lap, and how about this? Got 3 Jaguars and a Toyota. 4 Jaguars inside the top 5 right now. And the entire top 5 in Jaguar bodies. 1 Toyota, Roberto Crown Jr. in 4th. Got to go all the way back to 6th with Kyle Wood to get the first Chevrolet Corvette in line. And behind him, got a couple of Jaguars. So the Jags absolutely dominating right now in terms of qualifying. But you look at the outside looking in. Joey Hightower in a Jaguar. Russell Blaze in a Jaguar. They're currently on the outside looking in. But that's for the sheer number of Corvettes that we've got, they're certainly going to outnumber the Jaguars in the qualifying sessions. James Lawson able to put down a little bit faster of a lap in the 0-2, but right now, that's good enough for 24th on the grid with 2 minutes to go in qualifying. I don't know if we're going to see a couple of flyers of a lap this time around from Mike Vincent Jr. Surveys will say for the 78, and that's going to put him inside the top 21. That's going to push out Pedro Sabato in the 64. 19th for the defending winner of this race from 1 year ago. How about that for Mike Vincent Jr.? And now Riley Sampson getting pushed out as well. I believe Zachary Fitzwater. No, Fitzwater still below the top 21. Couldn't tell who that was that put down a really, really flying lap there. .110 to go in qualifying. And right now, where Riley Sampson is, he might get one more shot at trying to put down a solid lap. He is going to be right on the back end of Owen Miles, who's currently good to the go. I think Riley's going to get some nice drafting help going through the final set of corners. Now Luna Farmer up to 22nd for a brief moment, then got shoved off of the high perch. I think Riley Sampson might have time for one more lap survey, we'll say, for the 36. Off by a tenth of a second. Right now, Mike Vincent Jr. on the cut line currently, as it was Eric Monaco to put down a lap that was good enough for the top 21. We are going to get some bonus time, so still plenty of time for those guys to get shoved off, so they're not safe by any stretch of the imagination here in group qualifying. The zero time will remain. I believe we'll probably have about maybe 2.5 minutes remaining of bonus time for everybody to put down one more lap. For guys like Luna Farmer, that's going to be very disappointing. Same thing with Pedro Sabata, who will go, in all likelihood, they'll go 0 for 2. And now the 78 pushed out. Mike Vincent Jr. right now on the outside looking in as James Lawson with a good lap that last time by. And I really don't know if that 78 car is going to make it back around for another attempt at a lap. And now Eric Monaco pushed out too. So everybody beginning to run their fastest laps of the Q session. Diacomo still with the pole. Like we said, they were not safe by any stretch of the imagination, as Riley Sampson was able to run a flyer of a lap to make that him in 16th. We'll see if we get any more bonus time for these drivers, but I really don't know. We're going to get 30 more seconds for them, those guys to complete their laps. I don't know if Mike Vincent Jr. is going to be able to make it in time. Eric Monaco is certainly not going to be able to make it in time. This is going to be coming right down to the wire for Mike Vincent Jr. He's going to have 10 seconds to go to get to the line. Can he get one more flying lap here with 5 seconds to go? It's going to be close right at the stripe. He just gets it with 1 second remaining. Is it enough? I don't believe it is, though. Bruno Diacomo will sit on the pole. And it indeed was not enough as we take a look at all the drivers that will be in. Bradley Ream just barely by a couple. 1/100th of a second over Anthony Joseph will be the cut line. But that is a very significant amount of drivers, marquee drivers if you will, that are going to miss the show in tomorrow's 67-lap event as we take a look at the drivers that failed to qualify. Anthony Joseph, Kasumi Takashi, Eric Monaco, who is not going to try to be able to even get back-to-back wins. Mike Vincent Jr., the defending winner of this race, he's not in the field. Reggie Fogelman, Luna Farmer, and Pedro Sabato, they're now 0 for 2 in qualifying. Joey Hightower and Zachary Fitzwater, those are your 9 cars that failed to qualify for the Napa, California Grand Prix. And again, these qualifying sessions where everybody has an equal opportunity to DNQ are going to be a huge, huge storyline all throughout this entire season. But Bruno Diacomo and Taylor Lay did make the Daytona 2.4, was wrecked out, but Bruno Diacomo goes from crashing out in the roar before the 2.4 to on pole here at Willow Springs. But that is a tough break for all those guys that DNQ. But for Bruno Diacomo, he's trying to get back up in this championship battle. We'll see what these guys are able to do tomorrow afternoon. But without further ado, we'll go downstairs and get things going for GT Daytona qualifying right here on the North American Sim Racing Network. And like we said, we're right back in a jiffy as we welcome you back to the Willow Springs International Raceway as we begin to set the field for GT Daytona here for the tomorrow afternoon 67-lap race for the Napa, California Grand Prix here on the North American Sim Racing Network. And after a fantastic qualifying session in GT Le Mans, we're going to get an even better qualifying session as Aaron Abel, coming right out of his pit stall, gets run over by Rogel Dorn. That's certainly not what you want for Aaron Abel, as this is the class where we're going to see the most overlap in terms of the drivers for both the Mission Barbecue Cup Series and the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship. Of course, MBCS will have their qualifying tomorrow afternoon as well. Of course, all 42 cars will make the race, but we've got 21 drivers that will transfer into tomorrow's race. Rogel Dorn and Lauren Martinez, the first couple of drivers that are out here. And they are on track. Martinez will be the first car to put down a lap in that Victoria's Secret 00, the outside of Matt Lagacy. Martinez just barely able to make that Daytona 2.4 race, didn't really finish well in that 00 car. We go back and try to find the winner of that Daytona 2.4, and there he is, Carson Miller in that 72 711 Ford Mustang. And he's going to be the first one to put out a lap time of 118.652. Pretty solid outlap in that 72 machine. Goes a little bit off course there, going through the balcony corner. Dylan Matthews, one of the drivers that failed to qualify for the Daytona 2.4. Trying to have a solid run here in qualifying, as Rogel Dorn will now jump to the top of the charts with an 118.393 for his outlap. Prix McShane in the 022, another driver that failed to qualify for Daytona. Ryan Durrani, who is trying to avoid some of the demons he had at the Daytona International Speedway. He's trying to make some moves as we had one car go off track. I thought I saw somebody upside down. Oh, and it was Rogel Dorn who got caught up in the turn number 2 and 3, I believe. Again, this is a very treacherous track here. We'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, but this is about as treacherous of a track as they come here at Willow Springs. It's not as treacherous as what we'd seen at Watkins Glen, but still pretty interesting to see how these guys navigate around. And, well, Igor Barreto with a hard shot into the outside wall. Pretty much proving our point. So that's going to be an early setback for Barreto in that 14 machine. Currently, Lauren Martinez top of the boards in that 00 Dodge Viper. Damian Karanko, who was oh so close to winning that Daytona 2.4 back in late January. Trying to set things up for himself once again, as he's got Kyler Anderson in front of him in the 42. Unfortunately was wrecked out of the Daytona 2.4. Off track goes the 41. And upside down and flipping goes Titan Nicholas. And these GT Daytona cars, they love to run very tight setups, but we've seen it already a couple of different times. As Daniel Bouchard, he's going to dip all 4 tires off the grass of turn number 3. See what Bouchard is able to do is he's right in the tire tracks. The man who's at the top of the charts right now, Cement Ozgen. Ozgen a little bit off course. Same thing with Bouchard, but they're able to hold on. So now the 56, Robert Mikhailovich. Wouldn't that be something if we get another car that DNQ'd for the Daytona 2.4 would be on pole? And just as we say that, Dylan Ebrahimian will jump to the top of the charts. Nathan Buchanan will go up there as well. And Dylan Matthews off track in the 26. Fortunately able to save that UPS Mustang. But that's going to kill her lap time. She is out and away currently. Only a handful of drivers have not put down lap times in the event. But Matthews right now running in 15th, but still plenty of time to go here in qualifying. So we've got under 10 minutes to go in Q. Matthews off track once again, and well, Prix McShane of the 22 looks like she had a hard shot here in Q. And this qualifying, these guys running some pretty tight setups. As McShane destroyed in that Pennzoil number 22 machine, these guys got to be very careful, especially going through these final set of corners, as Esteban Lacer, last year's champion, making a little bit of contact with the 66 of Legacy. Right now, how about that for Aaron Abel, currently sitting at the top of the charts with a 112. You know, for GT Le Mans, we saw these guys run 112 in the 112.2 range. These guys running in the 112.7, so they're about a half a lap. It's Will Parrish upside down in turn number 3. That's been Calamity Corner in qualifying so far. So that's certainly killing a couple drivers who haven't even put down a Q or an outlap. Esteban Lacer, if I'm not mistaken, he did not make the Daytona 2.4 as the defending champion. He and Carson Miller, both of them on the outside looking in currently. Marcus Glitch in the 32 were able to save it off of turn number 3. 28 cars have put down a lap so far in qualifying. It's Titan Nicholas in the 41 trying to get things going, and that Stunod machine after he got a brand new race car after flipping. A little bit wide through the corner, able to just barely hold on to it. See what Nicholas is able to do was 27 that last time by, and not able to improve his position whatsoever, running a 119, so that was his outlap. And last time by. One other car going upside down. Couldn't quite tell who it was. These guys are running all over the place. Kyler Anderson, Aaron Abel, Dylan Ebrahimian, right now your top 3. Currently on the cut line is Dylan Matthews and Will Parrish. That's the cut line right now between 21st and 22nd. Go back to the rest of the field, and there is your Daytona 500 champion from the Mission Barbecue Cup Series circuit. It's Daniel Bouchard, who has begun to really establish himself in these last couple of years as a premier driver here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Of course, you go back last week to Keegan Thompson, tie in himself with Eric Monaco, the all-time winningest driver here on the North American Sim Racing Network. But Daniel Bouchard is certainly up there in his own regard. So he got that illustrious first career win in the NBCS last year at Homestead, won the Daytona 500, and here 2 weeks later, trying to at least make the race, and currently sits inside the top 20, just inside the top 21 at the moment. No, he is currently 26, so the way that he's running right now in that Coke Zero Cobra, he would not make the second race of the season. And again, we saw a couple of guys like Eric Monaco, like Zachary Fitzwater and GT Le Mans fail to qualify for their respective class. But again, everybody has just an equal of a chance to win here. Because again, all these cars set up exactly the same in terms of the ratings. And you'll see different strategies all throughout the race, but pretty much everybody able to set their cars up a little bit differently than one another. But, you know, ironically, in this division where you see a little bit of just a tiny little dip in the ratings, between the two classes. But these GTLM cars, they run 85-85, while the GT Daytonas, right here, run 65-65 in terms of the rating. So these guys all equal with one another, and that's why we see really great racing in both these classes here in the FMGTC compared to the range of the ratings we've got in the MBCS, where I think it's 85-75 we run in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. But right now, with under 4 minutes to go in qualifying, as Nicholas is off track once again, able to catch the race car once more. Right now, has not been able to put down a good qualifying lap just yet, as Dylan Matthews now falls down to 26. I think Daniel Bouchard, yeah, he indeed did put down a flyer of a lap. Falls back down to 15th, but right now the 9 cars that would fail to qualify would be Carson Miller, who would just be out by 2/100ths of a second over Matt Lagasse. Bucky Campbell, Igor Barreto, Logan Alexander, Prix McShane, Dylan Matthews, Will Parrish, Titan Nicholas, and Shakira Takashi. As those drivers would not be in tomorrow afternoon. 67-lap race, and a bad crash once again for another driver, this time belonging to one Carlos Espinosa, as he currently runs 6th on the board. Alexander Rowe going a little bit wide off of the course of turn number 11, but he's able to hold on to it there. Under 3 minutes to go in qualifying. Esteban Lacer looks to make the show after last year's champion did not make the Daytona 2.4. Will Parrish is back in a big way, and Carson Miller is junked once again. That might be all of his hopes for making the race. And that indeed would definitely be something if both Daytona 2.4 winners did not make the next race here out in Willow Springs. Again, Dylan Matthews, Prix McShane, and Bucky Campbell did not make the Daytona 2.4. And Titan Nicholas, you can add him into that fray. And now we got more trouble up in Taco Bell turn, in the Taco Bell balcony turn. So Logan Alexander, that might kill his chances of having a good lap. He got run over there by the 0 of Lauren Martinez. Still got a little bit of time and bonus time, but for Carson Miller and Logan Alexander, that's probably going to cement themselves of being outside of the top 21. And again, we go back to GT Le Mans. It's the exact same thing in GT Daytona. There's no charters, there's no top 20 rule. Everybody has an equal opportunity of making the race as they do to missing it. And it just provides that element of randomness. Again, some of the races we're going to have this year, we're going to have qualifying races. But for the majority, we're going to have these qualifying sessions. And we saw in the championship last year with Aguirre Sato, we had qualifying broadcasted live, and he was not able to do anything in that 49. Qualified 21st in the championship race, in which he came in as the points leader. As now Dylan Matthews pushing Harrison Fox outside of the top 21. Connor Monaco a little bit off track as Carson Miller gets run over by Dmitry Mikhailovich. Robert Mikhailovich, I should say. Miller trying to go back out there for an additional lap. I really don't know if he's going to be able to make it. Matt Lagasse now pushed outside of the top 21. We're probably going to get 30 seconds of bonus time. That's not going to be nearly enough for Carson Miller to do anything about that. Actually, no, we're just now going into bonus time. So Miller, he's going to have 2 minutes because he's on his outlap right now. I don't know if Miller's going to be able to put down one final flyer. Where's Miller already? Oh, wait, no. Miller is in 8th. Yeah, he was the one that pushed down a couple of drivers. So Carson Miller, excuse me, he's good. Same cannot be said for Titan Nicholas, who has been absolutely dogged by horrible luck. His fastest lap of the afternoon, a 1:19. He has had issues the entire 15 minutes of qualifying, and, well, Titan Nicholas's bad luck extending from 2022 might be rearing its ugly head once again, as we'll get about maybe 45 seconds left to go in qualifying. How about Connor Monaco? We haven't even talked about him all day long. Monaco right now with the pole, a 0.2 of a second faster time than Kyler Anderson. And he's got about 30 more seconds to put down another lap. Ryan Durrani now pushed outside of the top 21 as Will Parrish on the inside looking outward. Where's Durrani on track? Is he going to be able to put down one final lap? I don't believe he is. He is indeed not, and that is going to be a late heartbreak for Ryan Durrani. But how about that for all these drivers? That's going to do it for qualifying as Connor Monaco, who nearly won the race at Daytona about a month ago at this point. He will sit on the pole position here at the Willow Springs International Raceway. Kyler Anderson will sit on the outside pole. Joseph Wood, Rogel Dorn, and Aaron Abel will be your top 5. But for your drivers that DNQ'd, Ryan Durrani just getting pushed out at the last moment. Harrison Fox, Matt Lagasse, Igor Barreto, Bucky Campbell, Logan Alexander, Priya McShane, Shakira Takashi, and Titan Nicholas. The 9 drivers that failed to qualify for the Napa Auto Parts California Grand Prix for GT Daytona. But that is indeed going to do it here for your qualifying for this afternoon on a dreary Thursday afternoon. We expect to see some sunshine tomorrow for tomorrow afternoon's 67-lap second race of the season for the Napa California Grand Prix. That'll premiere, that'll premiere at 4 o'clock Eastern Time right here on the North American Sim Racing Network. It'll be 1 o'clock local time for everybody here on the West Coast and SoCal. But it's going to be an exciting race. It always is here on the North American Sim Racing Network. But, of course, next time we'll be here on the NASRN will be tomorrow at noon Eastern when we get things going here for the third qualifying session of the season for the NR2003 Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Today we'll set the field for the 2026 running of the Juke Micronics 300K right here on the North American Sim Racing Network and at the Willow Springs International Raceway, the legendary Willow Springs International Raceway. But for everybody at the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright, saying so long from Willow Springs. We're back here tomorrow afternoon at noon Eastern for qualifying for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series for their race here at the Willow Springs International Raceway. And then at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we get race number 2 of the FMGTC's 2026 season, the Napa California Grand Prix, right here on your home for all NR2003 content, the North American Sim Racing Network. Have a great evening, folks. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon for tomorrow's 67-lap affair.